Despite a mandatory stay-at-home order, violence in downtown Everett tonight. One man was shot and killed. A second was injured. Police wearing masks. They swarmed the scene. They were trying to protect themselves while they search for that suspect. Good evening, everybody. I'm Joyce Taylor.
And I'm Greg Copeland. King 5's Ted Land is in Everett with reaction from those who live there.
The library is across the street, and then there are apartments right over here. People in this community are angry. They're already stressed out about coronavirus, and now there's this case where bullets were flying down their block.
There may be shots fired.
The first 911 call came in around 2:40 Thursday afternoon. Popping sounds right outside the downtown Everett Public Library. John Bockley watched the commotion from his apartment.
I saw a car driving in circles out there and a bunch of guys chasing after it, shooting at it.
Minutes later, 2 gunshot victims showed up at the Providence Regional Medical Center Colby campus. Everett police say it looked like several people fled from cars near the hospital. Officers spent the afternoon searching for a suspect. They wore respirators while interviewing witnesses. This is how they do their jobs now while trying to protect themselves from coronavirus. In Seattle, police are taking similar precautions, even doing some lower priority investigations over the phone or online to limit their exposure on the streets.
Every call that comes into our 911 communications center, the dispatcher, the call taker will ask 3 health-related questions to them about, has anybody been sick? Does anybody have a fever?
For neighbors in Everett already worried about what's happening in the world, the shooting added an extra layer of stress.
And we're trying to keep people safe and kids fed, and my kids don't go to school anymore, and now I have to live in this neighborhood, and now we're scared.
Again, one person died in the shooting. The other has non-life-threatening injuries. Police say they think this community is safe. They think all of the people involved in the shooting knew one another, and investigators tonight are still searching for a suspect. In Everett, Ted Land, King 5 News.
One day after inmates rioted at the state prison in Monroe, some of them may be released early. The governor and the prison secretary told King 5 that the state was already working on a plan before last night's incident. The Department of Corrections says that some men were resistant to going into quarantine after 6 inmates tested positive for coronavirus. Prison authorities say that close to 50 inmates went to the recreation yard and vandalized the equipment.
If we're going to provide safety for some of the more vulnerable people in the population, people over the age of 65, the people who have underlying health concerns, some of the other inmates might have to give up their television for a certain period of time. And we just need a little cooperation to do that.
As far as early releases go, the state says non-violent offenders with 60 or fewer days left on their sentences could be released. But some say that's not enough.
There's got to be something better that they can do. Not just, put an infected guy in prison with the other people, especially, and somebody's didn't really do, what they're saying they did to deserve however many years he's going to get. And then basically just hand him a death sentence. I think it's a joke.
Columbia Legal Services has filed a petition with the Washington State Supreme Court asking for the release of inmates that are most at risk for the virus or who have 18 months or less remaining on their sentences.
Here's a look at the case numbers for coronavirus across the country. According to NBC News, the U.S. is now topping the rest of the world with more than 460,000 confirmed cases and more than 16,000 deaths. In our state, there are 9,608 cases. 446 people have also died. More than 88,000 people have been tested. The coronavirus has hit Navy sailors in Puget Sound. There's believed to be at least one case tied to USS Nimitz at Naval Base Kitsap. King 5's Tony Black is in Bremerton.
Navy officials say there are no positive cases of the coronavirus on board the USS Nimitz here in Bremerton. Here's what else we were able to confirm with Navy officials.
Over 2 weeks ago, the Navy says one sailor of the USS Nimitz tested positive while they were on leave in another state. They say he showed symptoms, got tested, and self-quarantined.
And we told that sailor to remain there with his family. So never was aboard the ship.
Commander Ron Flanders is the public affairs officer for the Naval Air Forces. He says the Navy is taking additional steps because of the coronavirus.
to the best of our ability, we're keeping folks off the ship. And aboard the ships, we're disinfecting multiple times per day. We're practicing social distancing. And in cases where training or operations prevent us from practicing social distancing, our sailors are wearing facial coverings or masks.
The Navy says another sailor who was on board the USS Nimitz over 2 weeks ago was showing symptoms and was removed. They say he was tested twice, but both results were inconclusive, so the Navy deemed him a presumed positive, and he's been in quarantine. The Navy says both sailors are recovered, but neither has returned to the ship. The Pentagon reports there have been 513 coronavirus cases throughout the Navy as of Wednesday. Flanders also noted other aircraft carriers such as the USS Carl Vinson, which is also in Bremerton undergoing maintenance, has 0 positive cases, and said he could not comment on the status of the USS Ronald Reagan, which is currently in Japan. All of the near 3,000-person crew of the USS Nimitz are on the ship and not being allowed off during a fast cruise status activated on April 1st and lasts for 14 days. The Navy says this is to help minimize exposure risks for the crew.
We care about our sailors. It is our top priority to protect their health. But the defense of the United States is a critical and essential task, and the U.S. Navy will carry it out.
Another note, the USS Nimitz is set to deploy later this year. They were also scheduled to do at-sea trials this month. Here in Bremerton, I'm Tony Black, King 5 News.
Tonight, King 5 is the first to learn that the University of Washington, along with Bastyr, is launching a new study to better understand the psychological impacts of COVID-19. Now, for almost a month, they have been tracking 500 people nightly in King County with some pretty positive results.
People here in Seattle are actually overall responding pretty well. Anxiety and feelings of being overwhelmed peaked a few weeks ago, and they're definitely starting to go down.
So tomorrow they will officially announce a new nationwide study that you can get involved in. If you sign up, you'll receive a daily survey on your phone for 1 month, which asks about your emotional, behavioral, and social responses to the crisis. It will also text suggestions on how you can cope. To learn more and register for that study, you can text the word survey to 206-448-4545, and we will send you a link.